All right, we are joined by our buddy Kenny Berger. Ken, of course, NBA insider, CBSSports.com, 6 to 8 Eastern every Saturday throughout the NBA playoffs, called Eye on Basketball. Him and my boy Jody Mack. What's up, Kenny? How are you?
I'm good. How about you guys?
We're doing well. Scott Skiles, let's at least get this out of the way, abruptly resigning, you know what I mean, from as head coach of the Magic here. And a lot of people surmise that it's because maybe he thinks Dwight Howard is going to go back to the Orlando Magic, and this is his way of saying, I want no part of this. What's the story with Scott? What really happened with Skiles?
Well, that was the first question that I asked. Was there something in particular? I mean, it was kind of known as kind of a poorly kept secret that Skiles and Rob Hennigan, the GM in Orlando, had at times clashed and had some differences of opinion on philosophy and roster composition and so forth. I mean, and in this day and age, what coach and GM doesn't? And I think we've talked about this before, the lines have really blurred from what the coach's area of responsibility used to be, and the front office wouldn't invade that space, and the same going in the other direction. So that's become an issue in the NBA coaching business, that there's too many cooks in the kitchen. But I did ask if there was a particular something, like, and I mentioned Dwight Howard, and I was told flat out that there wasn't any one issue like that. That, Scott has done this before. It's a little weird after 1 year, but he's done it in Milwaukee before after 5 years, where he just decided he'd had enough. He was tired of the roster. He wanted to go, and at that time he really wanted to go to Orlando. He wasn't able to get out of Milwaukee in time to get the job before Jacques Vaughn did, and now he's free again, and we'll see what happens. I suspect that in order to kind of maintain some kind of continuity and not completely start over with a whole new staff, I think you'll see assistant coach Adrian Griffin become a very, very strong candidate for that job and kind of maintain some kind of normalcy there in the wake of a pretty weird resignation by Scott Skiles.
Yeah, very strange. I would classify it, and I can't always say this about the Magic job, but I actually think now it's a pretty decent job, pretty good job, because they've got good cap space. They're about $34 million this summer. They get some monies off the cap. They've got a fairly new arena, and they've got a pretty good young roster. So, to me, the Magic gig is pretty decent, all things considered, right now, no?
I agree. They're one of only, I think, 4 or 5 teams in the league that, I think it's 5 teams in the league that have improved their win total each of the last 3 seasons. And so that's a sign that they're building something. And, whenever you lose a superstar, as they did with Dwight, it takes time to reboot and to kind of rebuild. And they've done a nice job of that. I agree. I think it's a good opportunity.
Ken, I'm trying to think of the aftermath down in San Antonio, because the regular season they had was unbelievable, spectacular, right? Only it was surpassed obviously because of the Warriors' 73-9 record, and losing in the second round to OKC, who should have been I don't want to say inferior, but you know what I mean. They probably should have beat them. Where is the blame going to go around to? Is it the oldness of the team? Is it LaMarcus Aldridge not living up to what he should have been doing? Where is the blame going to go? And what happens to the Spurs?
Well, sort of, Tiki, I kind of object to your whole premise there that just because they won a few more games in the regular season, they should have dismissed the Thunder, easily.
No, not dismissed them.
I think people really have lost track of how good the Thunder have been the last few years.
Yeah, but so where does the blame go in San Antonio? You know what I mean? Because it felt like
I don't know if you have to really blame anybody. I mean, do we always have to blame somebody? I mean, sometimes the other team just plays better. And I think that's the way that the Spurs will handle it. I mean, look, they've been so good for so long, and they've been to the top of the mountain, and they've set up the team in such a way that you can, there are never any guarantees that, regardless of who you have or how many stars or who your coach is or what your track record and history are, that you're going to get through and get to another conference finals or NBA finals. And the Spurs understand that, but I think they're in a good position. I really do. I think they've gradually turned the team over to Kawhi Leonard the last few years. They were able to get a huge coup in getting LaMarcus Aldridge. And now those are the 2 pillars they'll build around. And, it'll take some time. Everyone will need to decompress. Does Duncan think he has enough to come back and play some kind of role? next year, or is he going to retire? And if he retires and maybe Manu decides to opt out and come back on an even cheaper deal or whatever he decides to do, they'll have cap room. They're still the Spurs. They have Tony Parker. He's not going anywhere, and Aldridge and Kawhi Leonard. I think that's a pretty nice little group to build around. They're going to be disappointed, but I just don't think that people really recognize how good the Thunder have been. I mean,
yeah, but hey, Ken, hold on.
team.
Hold on one sec here, Ken. With all due respect, and I understand. I wouldn't use the word blame either necessarily, but I'm with Tiki in this regard. All year, we had them. Everybody had them penciled in. Warriors, Spurs. They almost win 70 games. They never lose at home. They never lose back to back. And all of a sudden, when they fall short of what everybody perceived to be the absolute point of destination, you have to look at something that went awry. And I think it's a very fair question. I mean, I don't think Popovich coached a great series. I don't think he coached well at all.
I'm not disputing it. I'm just saying, like, maybe I'm the unicorn here, but I picked, and I'm not trying to boast because these predictions, I've gotten way more of them wrong than I've gotten right. But I picked OKC to face Cleveland in the finals before the season, and I picked the Thunder to beat the Spurs in 7 in this series. So I mean, I just really have a tremendous amount of respect for both organizations and how they've built themselves and how they've comported and conducted themselves. I don't know. I don't. Obviously, the Spurs and the Spurs fan today are extremely disappointed. But I don't know that you necessarily have to say it was guy's fault or that guy's fault. Sometimes the other team's better.
Yeah.
I'm talking to Kenny Berger, of course, Kenny, CBS Sports NBA insider, and he's got a show every Saturday throughout the entire NBA postseason, 6 to 8 Eastern. And it's with Jody Mack. It's called Ion Basketball.
Well, Kenny, you picked OKC. Do you still feel that way, that they're going to get through the finals? Because both these two teams, the Warriors and OKC, possessions per 48, they just fly, right? They play very fast, but different styles. An ISO versus this very unselfish system that Golden State gets into. Who do you like then in the Western Conference?
I mean, it's awfully difficult to bet against Golden State at this point. I mean, when I made that prediction, I didn't know that the Warriors are going to win 73 games and be even better than they were a year ago. So, it would be foolish for me to sit here and try to come up with reasons that the Thunder can beat that team. Is it possible? Sure. But I think even OKC has to, recognize what they're going up against here. A team that, now has Steph Curry back, reasonably healthy, and he'll, as long as he doesn't get hurt again, he'll only get stronger and better as we move through. So, I mean, it's going to be a fascinating story, and you can kind of already sense, just from your question there, Tiki, that it's going to be, we always have to have like good guys and bad guys.
Of course.
And the Spurs were like the team that played, beautiful, unselfish basketball, and the Thunder, kind of selfish isolation, one-on-one players. I'm not sure that's entirely true either. I think the Thunder, much better and much more efficient offensive team than they've been really ever under Billy Donovan, and I think that shows up. And I guarantee you, if the Spurs had Kevin Durant and/or Russell Westbrook, either one of those guys would take most of their shots too, and probably most of them would be in isolation.
That's true.
One of these, beauty is in the eye of the beholder things.
Kenny, 2 quick hits for you. We're really pinched on time. We have a poll, though. Ginobili, Hall of Famer, yes or no, in your opinion?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I mean, I don't know what the precedent is for a guy who really has hardly ever started a game getting into the Hall of Fame. That would be the toughest obstacle he'd have to overcome.
So you would say yes or no?
My gut instinct would be to say no.
Interesting. Okay. Who do you have tonight?
That series has been so schizophrenic, guys, as you've seen. I don't even know how to predict it game to game. Neither one would surprise me. I kind of feel like Toronto has finally gotten it together to some degree and has some momentum. But Dwayne Wade is a fierce competitor and tough guy to eliminate and a tough team to eliminate. So neither one would surprise me. I guess if you put a gun to my head, I'd say Miami wins and forces a Game 7.
Kenny, have a good weekend. Have a good show tomorrow. Again, 6 to 8 Eastern, Ion Basketball, right here on CBS Sports Radio nationally with Jody Mack, and we'll talk to you soon, Ken. Thanks, bud.
You got it, guys.
All right. He's going no for Ginobili. A little surprise there.